Are you ready? Hey, think you can tell us what to do? Do you think you can tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters.
Alright, good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the 760 team draft. We're going to go ahead and name off the teams. Obviously, start with number 1. GQ was awarded the first pick this time around. He's been with us since 15 when we first launched, and he went with the Buccaneers. Not sure if that's a shock to any of you guys, but it was to me. I thought he was for sure going Dallas. That's his team, but I do believe he has him in another league. What's your guys' take on that pick?
That's
dumb.
Yeah, I would have assumed the Chiefs would go number 1 just overall, but the good thing about the Bucs in this game is Tom Brady plays for like 4 more years, so you actually are pretty good at quarterback. They have a lot of good offensive weapons, obviously, so solid team. Can't complain about that pick.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I actually wanted the Bucks. I told Gutta probably 3 or 4 times I really wanted the Bucks at the 5th spot for the same reasons. Tom Brady plays for a while, and they're loaded with talent on both sides of the ball after Tom Brady. And they're all young, so it definitely surprised me as the number 1 pick. But it doesn't surprise me that they're picked. It just surprised me the user that picked them number 1.
Yeah.
But I do know he loves middle linebackers that are fast, so it definitely makes sense here.
Alright, so we move on to the next pick, which was Domino, another guy who's been with us since Madden 15. And he went with the Kansas City Chiefs. So there was the number 1 pick that a lot of people had projected. He ended up taking them at number 2. What's your guys' thoughts on that? We'll start with Q.
It was expected. I mean, they're one of the best teams to be in a Madden League. I don't like to be them personally because of cap reasons. I don't know. I just don't like having all offense. It feels like no defense, but definitely a good pick at number 2, and hopefully it really benefits Domino.
Can't go wrong with Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. I mean, there are holes on parts of the roster, but those 3 alone make it a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, for sure. With Mahomes at 99 and Kelsey at 99, it's pretty hard not to be competitive with that team. All right, so we move on to number 3, Jay Smooth. He wasn't with us in Madden 15. He was like maybe 17 or 18. He went. I think this doesn't shock anybody, but he went Patriots at number 3. I mean, for me, he's gonna probably do some trades, I think, again, and unload some stuff, but we'll monitor that as we go along. What's your guys' thoughts on that? We'll go with Dom first.
I mean, shocking pick, but I know that's his team, so you can never blame someone for taking their team. I don't think they have a very good Madden roster outside of like Stephon Gilmore. I mean, their corners are good, Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson, but with Cam Newton and Sony Michel at running back, the receivers just aren't that good. It's a pretty difficult team to take and play successfully with in Madden, but hey, it's his team. Can't blame him.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It shocks me that they're picked number 3, but it doesn't shock me in our league that they're picked number 3 with a guy like Jay Smooth. He goes with them every year. He knows their roster like the back of his hand. He makes trades that make you scratch your head, but it works out for him, and it works for what he's trying to do. So I'm glad that he took him so early. I'm glad that he's still repping his team as strong as he does every single Madden.
No, yeah, for sure. AFC East is going to be competitive as long as he's in there. So we move on to the 4th pick, JP, coming off fresh off a Super Bowl win, and he went with the Arizona Cardinals. Kind of shocking for me. I know they have Murray at quarterback, a bunch of young pieces, and all that speed on defense. I think it's really going to help him as far as his user game. He has a pretty good user game. And what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean they have a decent roster. I mean, their offensive line's pretty bad. The receivers outside of DeAndre Hopkins are pretty good. I mean, you have speed with Andy Isabella and Christian Kirk, and definitely some speed at the linebacker position with Hassan Reddick. So it makes sense from a good user. Obviously, I think the diamond here is Kyler Murray, 91 speed, 82 overall superstar. So,
No, yeah, for sure. Q, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of Dom's comments, is the diamond is Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, you have Hopkins for multiple years where he's going to still be elite. And then on defense, you have so many guys to choose from that you can switch on to any defensive play and really be able to wreak some havoc. JP, he's always an elite guy, and this is definitely going to help him out. I think this is going to definitely make the NFC really strong, and it's going to really boost his chances yet again to probably make a name for himself to start this season.
No, I completely agree. And, you know, speaking of boosting the NFC, making it strong, we moved to our 5th pick, which was by Q, and you went with the Green Bay Packers. I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, he went with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, they have a lot of pieces. Q, go ahead and reflect on that pick for us. Give us an insight.
I really wanted to go with a rebuild team, but I was picking too high to pick a rebuild team with conviction. And after not getting the Bucks, I really wanted to get another veteran quarterback that had an X factor. And I've never been the Packers in any league, in any Madden. I've been playing Madden since Madden League since Madden 15, and so it's a good time to try them out and see what I can do with them. And definitely excited.
yeah, Jair Alexander looks like a nice piece, too. He's got the shutdown X Factor, 94 overall, 23. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
What's your plan with Jordan Love?
That's a good question. Jordan Love might be just developed on the training side for a couple years, depending on how bad they regress Rodgers. Rodgers gets all quarterbacks that are past the age of 32. They get regressed so hard, and if he drops to like an 85 or an 86, definitely don't be surprised if Jordan Love gets out on the field the following year.
No, for sure. It's, Rodgers, I don't think regresses that much, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. We move on to the 6th pick, which was by yours truly. I went with the Cleveland Browns. That O-line is probably, the best O-line in the game. I typically don't have powerhouses. I mean, I did have the Niners last go around, but I'm excited about all the pieces that they have on offense with OBJ, Landry, Chubb, Hunt, Mayfield. The division right now, I mean, we'll get into that later, but I'm feeling good. Dom, what's your take on my pick as far as the Cleveland Browns?
A lot of young pieces. Myles Garrett, it's really good. You get Chubb and Hunt, which is absurd. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to be the Browns. That offensive line, you can't. It's always nice to not have to worry about your offensive line. So I think you made the right pick.
Yeah, I would. It doesn't shock me. I mean, it's for your style of play. You're very run heavy, and this is obviously probably the number one team to be for a run heavy offense for the reason you guys said right now. So I think it's going to be a good pick for you. It's about time you get yourself a powerhouse. Like you said, the Niners have probably been your best team that you've been in any Madden cycle, considering you've been the Jets, the Dolphins, before they were cool to be the Dolphins and whatnot. So definitely happy to see that, and kind of want to see how you do with them.
I had 2 Super Bowls with those Dolphins. Just throwing that out there. We move on to our next pick. At number 7, he's on our admin team, Zig. He gets the Baltimore Ravens. I know he loves those young quarterbacks with, the speed and everything, and I can see him being, a little cheesy with Lamar and as far as wanting to take off and everything, but a lot of pieces on that team. He definitely has no excuse to be competitive this year and make a playoff push. What's your guys' take on that? We'll start with Dom.
Seems like Zig always gets good teams every Madden. Sometimes it takes him a year, but it'll be pretty hard to not win right away. I mean, they have a lot of pieces on defense. Lamar is insane, and I mean Hollywood Brown is 97 speed. The one concern I do have is outside of Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews at tight end. Their receiving and tight end core is not the best, so it'll be interesting to see what Zig does to bolster that.
Again, everything that Dom said, I agree with. Every Madden, he gets a great team. It feels like, and he does sometimes take a year or two to settle in with that team and get going. But then when he does get going, he really does pick it up. But like Dom said, outside of Hollywood Brown, if you know how to defend the Ravens and you know how to take away Brown, then I do see him struggling at first and having some hiccups, especially in year one. But it's going to be hard to stop Lamar Jackson every single game for 16 games. So I expect him to do some big things.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely excited about being the Ravens. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next pick. Number 8, Dom, you went ahead and picked the Carolina Panthers. Give us a little insight on your pick there.
I really wanted to do sort of a rebuild here. I didn't want to take a team right away that I would just keep most of the pieces. I didn't want to be in salary cap trouble or anything like that. I'm a Saints fan in real life, so I really like Teddy Bridgewater, even though I'm moving into the division. I really do like Teddy. I love the offense. I get Christian McCaffrey at running back. All 3 receivers are 83 overall or better with 93 or better speed. Tight end and O-line, bit of a concern, but a lot of young pieces on defense that I'm looking forward to developing. And I don't know. Sometimes I like the challenge and being able to mold a team how I want to mold it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that you're gonna be an instant contender right away for everything you just said. The receivers. I actually was telling Gutta, another team. I was telling Gutta if I was around pick 10 or so, I would have definitely liked to be the Panthers because I like their team a lot. They have a really good core of young guys, and that offense is so explosive, especially if you can find a way to throw the ball consistently with Bridgewater, because those weapons are. It's going to be hard to stay in front of them.
No, yes, NFC is shaping up to be a tough conference there. It looks like everyone's going to NFC so far. So we move on to our next pick. At number 9, we had T. Hoth, and he went ahead and picked the Buffalo Bills. What's your guys' take on that? We'll start with Q.
Good to see somebody go to the AFC. This is so after Dom's pick, which was the 8th pick. I don't know anybody that's been taken or picked, so this is a surprise to me. Definitely excited to see Josh Allen with the upgrade with the superstar abilities now. Look forward to seeing how T-Hawk can use them.
Yeah, I had the Bills in our initial go round, and the Josh Allen experience was not the best experience, but he seems to have gotten a nice upgrade, well deserved. So I don't foresee that being a problem. Anytime you get a quarterback with 99 throw power, it was 24. Yeah, you have to do it.
Definitely, he did get a little boost. I think it's a little too low, but that's just my opinion. Number 10, we had B. Gomez. I think he's been with us for about 2 years now, and he went ahead and picked the Tennessee Titans. Dom, what's your take on that pick?
I was sort of considering the Titans with my pick. I was considering about 5-16, but that Ryan Tannehill contract, I just wanted no part of it. That kept me away from it. But I mean, you get Derrick Henry, so that's going to be awesome, and you have AJ Brown at wide receiver, so that's a big weapon. And their defense has a lot of talent on it. You got Jadeveon Clowney and Desmond King, Adoree Jackson at corner. So there's a lot of pieces there. I just wanted to stay away from Tannehill's contract.
Yeah, me and Gutta were actually talking earlier today about him possibly getting the Titans because he's a run-heavy guy, and we both just agreed that as good as the rating bump that Tannehill got with that 87 overall compared to, I think the 79 that he had with our first startup, it's just that contract is really him and Kirk Cousins. You don't want to be those teams just for those 2 reasons only, and it's a shame. But definitely excited to see him use the Titans, and good to see another team go to the AFC, another user.
They're like a situation where Madden just has to fix their regression. Like quarterbacks should not regress as hard as they do after 30. That's not how it happens in real life. Like
Definitely. If he
should
could fall
be-
to an 85 or something, I agree. I definitely agree. If he only fell to an 85 or 86 the following year, like you said, the regressing is just, it's still broken. They need to fix it.
No, I think he's going to be competitive. You know, obviously with Henry and AJ Brown, little pieces they have on offense and defense are pretty talented as well. I think he's going to be competitive. Might not make the playoffs. We'll see though. Next,
Who was this? What user was that?
B Gomez. This is B Gomez.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
okay.
So number 11, we had a guy fresh off of retirement, Corey Stad. He got the Los Angeles Rams. So I think I don't really like the pick, but that's just me. He's going to be competitive. Just as, he's a Madden head. Just to see, as far as playing his games will be an issue, but we'll talk about that later. I do like the squad all around. They have Aaron Donald, Ramsey. Obviously, that defense is going to be a problem. What's your take on that, Q?
Corey, when Corey's focused, he's a tough guy to beat. He can beat anybody when he's focused. And one thing that he's always been able to do is he can dial up plays, these blitz plays, like he's Todd Bowles of Madden. Like he really sends the house, and he knows how to do it in a way that it's always thrown me off. He's one of the few, but he comes from this one group of guys that always threw me off with their blitzing styles. And I think the Rams are a good team for him. They're a good fit for him. I think that the way he plays defense is going to really cater to those guys on that team. And then it helps having a guy like Jalen Ramsey. It says, leave him on an island by himself while you can send 7 guys, to the quarterback. So definitely an interesting pick, but again, I think that it's going to pay off if he's focused.
Very loaded roster. They're ready to win right away. I have salary cap concerns. Jared Goff's another contract that I didn't want a part of, but I mean, honestly, there's not a ton you have to tweak. So as long as you can stay around the salary cap line with this current roster in place, you're in good shape.
No, I agree with both views. We're going to go ahead and move on to the 12th pick by Pomp Daddy, one of my fellow Raider fans. He went ahead and picked the Las Vegas Raiders. Can't say I'm surprised. I mean, I kind of saw that one coming if they were still available when they dropped to him. Darren Waller got a little boost. I think Carr got maybe a couple as well. The corners all around, they got a little bump. I still don't like the situation there in Las Vegas. He's gonna try to figure that out, obviously. But anyone who picks their team in real life, they're gonna be dedicated and motivated to try to knock some people off. So I like the pick. Dom, what's your take on that?
The Raiders are another team I considered. Henry Ruggs was really intriguing. They have a good amount of young talent. You're the Raiders fan. I think they have some draft picks coming up. Am I wrong? Have they already made all of those?
I think they exhausted those, but they might have one or two.
All right, well, that's why they have these young pieces. So some secondary concerns, but other than that, a pretty good roster. I think it's a good value here.
I was the Raiders in our Madden, and I did win the Super Bowl year 1 with them. And I didn't have the upgraded Darren Waller superstar and Derek Carr. I didn't have the upgraded roster. I had a little bit worse of a roster than the new update. But they're another team. I would have been them, of course, if I hadn't been them already, because they are an exciting team to be on offense. Very exciting, throwing it to Waller and Ruggs, definitely. And then having a bulldozer like Jacobs is pretty fun to have too. So it's cool seeing a team fan get his team. I think that they always play a little bit better because they know their guys a little bit better. I don't know. It's always been a thing that I've thought of.
No, I completely agree. He's going to be someone to look out in the AFC there. We move on to our next pick at number 13. We had Electrify, and he went ahead and picked the Indianapolis Colts. The O-line is, top 5, obviously. They do have some concerns when, Rivers leaves. I think he's good for 1 year. They have Taylor, who's a stud, and he is a run-first guy, so I think he's going to get maybe 1,800 yards with them the first season that he has them. Someone definitely to look out for in the AFC. Q, what's your take on that pick at number 13?
Yeah, when you think about it, it's a surprising pick, but then when you think of the user, it's really not. Like you said, he's extremely run heavy. This is a match made in heaven for a team that doesn't get the Browns like he had last time. Great offensive line. Jonathan Taylor's young. He has Marlon Mack and Hines, and I know he does like to kind of mix in a couple other running backs out of the shotgun. And he has a great defense with this team. Darius Leonard, I think that front seven is really good. Definitely underrated when you actually look at the Madden roster and see how good they actually are. I think he's going to be a playoff team, and I think he's definitely going to be a contender in the AFC South.
No, I agree fully with that. I expect Jonathan Taylor to go off. I'm interested to see what he does at quarterback. I've seen a lot of people start Jacob Eason right away. I'm usually not a fan of that. I would probably go with Rivers if this was my situation. You get at least one good year out of him, and then you can figure it out the next year. But overall, it's a good roster, and that offensive line is really good, and he's a good user. So I fully expect him to be a playoff team.
We move on here to the next pick at number 14. We had Money Nades, aka Zach, and he went ahead and picked the Seattle Seahawks. Another interesting team, exciting team. They did digress a little bit with the last update. I think Wilson went down, maybe 2. Obviously they have DK. It just depends who's in that division as well. I think Zach is going to be competitive as well. See, how rejuvenated he is coming into this restart. Q, what's your take on number 14 for Zach?
I agree. I think that he's going to do well with the Seahawks. Definitely a better team than what he had with the Jaguars. He doesn't typically get, the powerhouse teams when he's joining us because he always comes in a little bit later, or for some reason it just doesn't work out. But I expect him to be good, but he's in a tough division. I think that JP being in that division is going to be interesting, but I'm definitely excited to see him with the Seahawks. I'm excited to see him add a little bit. I know we have some things planned in the future with him as well for some content, so definitely excited for him to be a part of that as well.
This defense is pretty loaded. I mean, there's not a lot of weaknesses on this defense, and you have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf on offense. I think it's a really good situation to walk into. They're definitely one of the top teams right off the bat, in my opinion.
No, it'll be interesting to see how that division shapes up. I did forget JP was in there, so he does have a challenge ahead of him. We move to number 15. We have Sky picking, and he went ahead with the New Orleans Saints, Dom's team. I know they're loaded, all around. Breeze, probably use them for one more year and see what you can do next year. The cap, not sure how the cap is. I know, Dom, you know more about the cap situation. I know it's probably a little screwy, but I see him being competitive in that division. Depends, how well he can manage the team the first year around. Dom, what's your take on Sky taking your team?
Yeah, I mean, there was some regret on my part for not taking my team, especially since this is probably the last chance I had to play with Breeze and connected franchise. But the cap situation can't be ignored. In real life, they're $100 million over the cap next season. It's a little better than that in Madden, but you have to let a lot of talent walk out the door if you take the Saints. I mean, there's just going to be guys who can't re-sign, and you don't have the money to really replace them. And I was looking to rebuild a little bit, so I didn't want to walk into that situation personally, but the roster's loaded, so I fully expect anyone who plays with them to definitely contend in year 1 and probably year 2 as well, depending on what you end up doing at quarterback.
Yeah, roster is definitely loaded. If it was me taking over the Saints, I'd probably just roll with Jameis Winston right away and see how I play with him. I just looked at Drew Brees, and he does have an 81 throw power, and just based off my style of play, the 81, that would just scare me off right away. But outside of that, they are so loaded, just all around. But yeah, that's cap hell as well. I would avoid them, but definitely a talented team.
So the one thing I'll comment on that, like Jameis Winston, that's one of the players that you just don't have the money to re-sign. I've taken them offline, so there's really not like an incentive to develop Jameis. So that's another unfortunate part. And since Breeze will probably retire, it's just really hard to find a quarterback after year 1.
Well, if you listen to this, Sky, then do not start Jameis Winston. You might as well just ride Breeze into the sunset.
I think they're in a win now situation, so it'll be interesting to see how Sky does with the Saints year one. We move on to number 16, Rebel Heart. This was kind of a shocker to me. I thought they'd go a little later. He went ahead and picked the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not a fan of the team. They do have some bright spots. Quarterback situation is not the best in my opinion, and I know the cap is shit, so I'll cut that out.
We can't swear on here?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
gotta
you
keep it
can.
PG.
No, you
But,
can swear. Maybe he doesn't.
but I'm just not a fan of the team, not a fan of the pick, especially at number 16. I think there's, or I'm sorry, excuse me, yeah, 16. So, not a fan of the pick at 16. There was a lot of other teams that I would have went with, but he probably has a plan. Q, what's your take on that?
Him taking them either means he might be an Eagles fan or he might be an Oklahoma fan, because I don't think he's going to play Carson Wentz. I think in the new update, Carson Wentz dropped to a 72.
Jeez.
Hurts is a 71, so you might as well just roll with Hurts. But that, like you said, yeah, it definitely is a shocker. At 16, I'm definitely surprised to hear the Eagles go, especially over some of the teams that we still haven't named yet, because they're another team that just is in cap hell, but I don't think they have the roster that the Saints have. Or like a team like the Packers have. So we'll see how he does.
Yeah, no, the defense after the front four is awful. There's really not a lot there. And the quarterback situation is just bad. I mean, Wentz is probably the worst he's the highest paid player in the NFL, so that has to be the worst contract in the game.
Yeah, 72 overall.
Right. And Jalen Hurts only has 84 throw power. I mean, he's not going to be slinging it right off the bat. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, I assume he has a plan, and it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
No, yeah, like you were saying, they, all that money spent, and I think it was a lot of it was wasted as far as the roster goes. We move on to number 17, Grown Folks. He's coming out of retirement as well. Be interesting to see what he does with this pick. He gets the San Francisco 49ers. One of the top teams, I think, left on the board. I would have went with someone else, but I'm just speaking on the fact that I just had him last season. So, what's your take on that pick, Q?
I like Grown Folks joining us. Welcome back. If you're going to listen to this, Grown Folks, it's been a while since you've been with us, or at least it feels like it's been a while. The Niners I like the Niners for him. They got a great front seven, especially in Madden. And then I just really hate, it's another quarterback contract that I hate. I'm not a fan of Jimmy G, but if you can get over that, or if you can make it work with him, they're definitely a good team to be, because they have a good run game, and then again, that front seven on defense is one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just the quarterback situation is what this comes down to. But I mean, Jimmy G is serviceable for sure, so
Yeah.
It's not a bad pick. They're definitely one of the best rosters left on the board. They have some aging talent, but they also have an influx of young talent, so it's sort of like a team in the middle. But no, definitely one of the best rosters available, so definitely cannot blame them for taking them here.
No, yeah, from speaking from experience, Jimmy G is, he's solid. It's just, I guess I couldn't make it work out. So we move on to number 18. We had Block Boy JD, and he went with the Los Angeles Chargers, one of the more sexier teams, I think, with Herbert at quarterback. A lot of speed on that team. I mean, I love James on the defensive side of the ball. What's your take on that, Dom?
I think the Chargers were my second choice for which team I was going to be. And really the only reason I didn't take them is I'd been in the AFC in all of my Madden franchises this year, so I just wanted to play some new teams overall. I'm not in love with their secondary. It's good for now, but it's aging for sure outside of Derwin James. But, I mean, Justin Herbert is a huge part with Eckler and Keenan Allen on offense. It should be a great offense for years to come. With Joey Bosa up front, too, on defense, it'll make the secondary serviceable for whatever happens after year one. So I think this might have been the best roster available at this point and the best situation. So I'm kind of shocked they fell to 18, especially with how good Herbert was in real life this year.
I agree. I think that the league in general is going to regret that they let Block Boy JD get the Chargers. He's a pretty skilled user, and they're a sexy Madden team. Like he's the secondary, the corners definitely are questionable, and you have to address that probably right away. But like Dom said, Herbert played great this year. I regret not taking them because they are my team in real life. And I do this every year. I want to take him, but I think when I'm rated so high or ranked so high in selection, that it's just hard to not take one of the teams I've never been before. Overall, probably the best. I think this is the steal of the draft so far, and I think that Block Boy is definitely going to be an instant contender.
I didn't know they were your team, but Herbert won me my fantasy championship, so I guess thank you.
He got me to the semifinals, so.
Yeah, we were actually talking about joining the same division, me taking the Raiders and him going Chargers, but that didn't pan out. We move on to number 19. This is Goo. You may know him as the previous Rams owner. Shout out Goo. That's what he wanted me to call him. He went ahead and picked the Washington football team. I know there was some commotion in the chat as one of the more underrated teams. They do have Chase Young, obviously, who's a beast. They did get a bump. I think every team that was in the playoffs got a bump. But what's your take on number 19 Washington football team, Q?
I like it. I think that this is definitely one of the underrated teams. Now, I have them in a league, and I took them to the NFC Championship in the first year that I took over with them, so I really like them. They have the best front seven that I've played with personally before. And if you can draft a decent secondary, or if you can find something in the free agency to match with Fuller, and then you have Troy Apke, who's a great guy to user. Like it's a really good team to be. You just have to get over the quarterback hunch. And if you can do that, definitely a really good sleeper team to be.
Yeah, the defense is really good. They have some young pieces. The offensive line's pretty bad, and this might be the worst quarterback situation in Madden.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that they have an overpaid player. They kind of do an Alex Smith, but I don't think that contract's that hard to get out of. But, I mean, year one's going to be rough with this quarterback.
Yeah, let me just go on record really quick and say I took them over in a league in year 2 or year 3. So I had a quarterback already in play. I didn't play with Alex Smith. So good luck, Goo. But that team definitely is really fun to beat.
No, yeah, for sure. Number 20, my boy Goodfella. He went ahead and picked the Houston Texans. Obviously, they have Watson. They do lack pieces on offense, I think. Not sure on the cap. It'll be interesting to see what he does with the Texans year one. What's your take on that, Dom, as far as Texans going number 20?
The roster's pretty bare overall, but there are pieces. You have Deshaun Watson at quarterback, as you mentioned. I actually like the receivers, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. A lot of speed on the outside. But the offensive line and pretty much everything else on offense is pretty bad. And outside of J.J. Watt on defense, there's not a ton there. But, I mean, the main reason I did not even consider the Texans is they don't have draft picks ever either. But I could see the intrigue of playing with Deshaun Watson, no doubt.
Good fella. We've had a lot of DMs. You're an old head in here. I respect you. I can't believe that you went to Texans. We've had so many DMs to your style of play. I think there was the Cowboys available that you could have been. I think that there's quite a few teams that you really could have been that I think suit your style of play. This shocked me to hear that you just took the Texans. I like what Dom said about it. I liked him personally. I love the idea of having Deshaun Watson. He's a superstar. He's a 90 overall. He's 24. And I love Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks combo, but they don't ever have any draft cap, and they don't have any running backs, and they don't have any O-line, and that just doesn't sound like anything that I expected Goodfella to take. I'm a little disappointed, Goodfella.
I believe he has a plan, but we'll have to stay tuned for that one.
He better.
Yeah. Number 20.
He was in my division. He was the Chiefs last year, or in the other Madden, and he really hated the Chiefs, and that's a first for me. But I got where he was coming from after we would talk all the time. We played each other, 6 times, 8 times, so we exchanged a lot of DMs, and he would tell me his style of play. So definitely was surprised again. Not to take away your time, Gutta, but surprised me.
We move on to number 21, Marcus, who is currently the Saints. He joins my division with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh.
Obviously, Burrow. I don't like. Mixon. I don't know who really stands out on defense as far as any game changers, but he's as far as user, he's talented. It's going to be interesting that we might have formed a super division here. What's your take on that? But the Bengals going number 21, Dom.
I actually kind of like the Bengals. I'm a big Joe Burrow fan in real life, so I might be a little biased. But, you have Jesse Bates and William Jackson in the secondary. They have some young linebackers with some speed to them. The offensive line needs work. Joe Burrow can tell you that firsthand. But I actually kind of like them. I really do. You have T. Higgins at wide receiver. He's 21 years old, 78 overall. Only 87 speed, but this Madden makes it a little easier to make guys a little faster, and John Ross has plenty of speed to go around, and I really like Mixon. So I actually kind of like the Bengals here. I think that's like an intriguing young team to take.
I also like the Bengals. I like the pick for Marcus. That definitely is a tough division that I would not want to be a part of. That's 2 games each year against everybody that you don't really want to play, and you don't want to see Lamar Jackson twice a year, even no matter who the user is. So I like the pick for him taking the Bengals. I think it's going to be interesting how he builds and develops, because I do know that he is definitely into trading, and he's definitely a good user. So I like the Bengals. I think they're talented.
Yeah, looks like I'll have my hands full year 1 and forward. We're going to go ahead and move on to number 22. White is what I'll call him. That's why I've seen his Twitch name. I don't really know his username at the moment. He's the Bucks, former Bucks user. He went with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's a cap to the super division there. Looks like I'll be sitting on the couch watching you guys. So if I don't figure it out, year 1. So I do like the pick. I like the pieces they have. Obviously, who knows how bad Big Ben regresses after year 1. What's your take on that? Steelers going number 22. Q.
I'm shocked. They were, I think, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, they would have been taken a little bit higher than 22. But I'm shocked that they fell that far, and now I'm shocked that he filled out that division, the AFC North. That's going to be a very tough division. I know when he was playing year 1 with the Bucks, he made the playoffs and he made some noise. So hopefully he can also stay consistent with his gameplay, because he was definitely a good user. So
I'm the Steelers in another league, and I really like them. Their receivers are awesome. You don't really have to do much there. The offensive line, you can definitely work around it. There's some age to it, but offensive linemen don't regress as much as other positions in this game. And one issue I ran into was T.J. Watt was just unproductive for me for some reason. But when I took him over, he was an 85 overall, and I see that he's been boosted to 93 overall, so that's really nice. The one concern is Big Ben and the corners. There's just not a lot of speed in the secondary, but those are things that you can address. Overall, it's a really good roster. I'm shocked they fell this far.
No, at number 22, I didn't think they'd fall, as far as they did. But lucky me, they're all in my division, and we'll see how that pans out for me and see if I can actually make the playoffs. So number 23 is Real Eyes. He is the Colts user. He went ahead and picked the Chicago Bears. I was shocked by this pick. I thought, I would have taken maybe 2 or 3 teams before the Bears at this point. I love, Montgomery. Obviously, he did get a big boost. I just don't like the pick at 23. What's your take on that, Dom?
I live in Chicago. All my friends are Bears fans. My roommate is a Bears fan, and I unfortunately had to watch them all year. But I actually almost took them until I realized like kind of how old the defense is. It's older than I thought it was. Foles is another quarterback contract that I just don't really want a piece of. But I mean, you have Khalil Mack and a bunch of pieces on defense that'll be good right away. One concern that I had was at wide receiver behind Allen Robinson and at tight end. The passing game could be a struggle. I know Allen Robinson's a superstar, but behind him there's not too much. You have rookie Darnell Mooney who you can develop, but I actually don't hate this pick. I think he could have done a lot worse here.
Yeah, I think the Bears, they're one of those Madden teams that even when they don't look good on Madden, they're still somewhat productive on Madden. Like, you can always win games with them. I think, like you said, it's tough with that quarterback situation because you can't really develop. You can't get any better with those guys. And Khalil Mack is he's a little older than people might realize. He's already 29 years old, and in the Madden world, that's pretty old. I like the pick. Welcome for my first NFC North, guys. I haven't had anybody else join. That's good. So, welcome.
No, yeah, still, I think a couple more teams to fill out that division. We move on to number 24, Joey Luna, one of the new guys that just joined, 760. Welcome. He went ahead and picked the Denver Broncos at number 24. They were a team that I was actually looking at. I know Callahan got a little boost. I, obviously, being a Raider fan, I wasn't going to pick them, but they did catch my eye a little bit. Q, what's your take on Joey Luna picking the Denver Broncos at number 24?
Well, first off, welcome, Joey Luna. Hopefully you're staying with us for multiple Maddens to come. Broncos are one of those teams that are interesting. I definitely agree. Their defense is a lot better than I realized, and than a lot of people might realize. Justin Simmons is really good, one of the best safeties. And then Kareem Jackson, surprisingly really good. Like you said, Callahan got a big boost. Von Miller doesn't have to really need no explanation. So I like the pick, and I think that he's going to make the AFC West a little more interesting with that pick too.
Yeah, welcome, Joey Luna. Glad to have you. I think an underrated part of the Broncos is the offense. I actually really like the offense that they have. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler at wide receiver is a nice group of young talent that you can easily develop. It really all hinges on quarterback Drew Lock and your ability to develop him. So, best of luck there, and welcome to 760.
All right, we move on to number 25, Hit for Real, another new member. Welcome. He went with the Atlanta Falcons, who I actually was considering until I saw the ratings and realized Gurley was a 78. They do have some pieces, obviously Julio, Ridley. I'm surprised they fell this far, but what is your take on number 25, Atlanta Hawks, Dom?
Atlanta Hawks?
I'm sorry, Falcons.
Sure.
Atlanta Falcons. Trey Young.
Listening to Dom's podcast.
I was listening.
Thanks for the plug. I hate the Falcons in real life, but I've actually had success with them in the past in Madden. My only concern is they have some older talent and not a lot of cap flexibility, so you really need to kind of work with what you have here. But they definitely have some pieces in place. Julio and Calvin Ridley make the offense a lot of fun. You have Grady Jarrett up front. Deion Jones is an awesome user linebacker. So is Alua Khan with 90 speed at outside linebacker. You have a rookie at corner who's already a 77 overall. Some help at safety would be nice, but I like their roster has talent in place now. I just don't like the lack of flexibility moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. Matt Ryan keeps seeming to regress as well, and he has a pretty big contract. But they do have some young studs, especially on defense with Deion Jones, and then that linebacker Aluakon and his speed as well. He got a pretty big boost. I saw he's at 81, and then the rookie, like you said. So they got some really young pieces that can really be dangerous weapons to have. But that like you said, there's not a lot of flexibility. Julio Jones is not. He can only get worse at this point, and same thing with Matt Ryan. You got to address some really key things quickly and hope that you strike gold in the draft with it too.
No, it'll be interesting to see what he does with the team first year. Also, like I said, new user, welcome. At number 26, we have another new user, I Abuse Square. He went with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm surprised they dropped this far. I know they're struggling, but when it comes to Madden, I think they're a really good Madden team. Offensive line is still pretty good. What's your take on the Dallas Cowboys going number 26, Q?
This will probably be the furthest they ever drop in any league that we'll be in. I don't think they've ever dropped to 26th, I don't think they've ever even dropped to like 15th. So I know they did take a big hit on defense with a lot of their guys, especially the main guys like Vander Esch, Jalen Smith. I think DeMarcus Lawrence lost his entire X Factor and superstar. Their corners are all mid-70s guys, same with the safety. So they really dropped a lot, but like you said, there's still a lot of positives, minus the cap though. It's a big cap thing, and they don't have that pizzazz that they once had on defense like they used to. So surprised that they fell this far, but not surprised that they didn't go top 12 or so like they usually do.
Yeah, usually there's a big Cowboys fan somewhere before this point in the draft, and they're definitely still a good Madden team. Their offense is still very good. They have a really good offensive line. Zeke, Dak, and Mari Cooper with Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that's an insane offensive repertoire. The defense is pretty bad, but there's no one like super old outside of Sean Lee on the defense, so it's something you can definitely build, and there's some speed, even though overalls may not be good. So if you're good with your users, like, you should be fine. I'm shocked they fell this far. It's a good grab, good value.
Yeah.
No, if you told me before the draft at number 26 the Cowboys would drop to 26, I wouldn't have believed you. But we move on to 27. We'll go ahead and skip that one. 28 is PKMN Perales, 93, and he got the Minnesota Vikings. So there's another one to add to your division queue. What's your take on 28 Minnesota Vikings?
I think they're another team that always falls really far in Madden drafts, and they're really good. They can be good. If you're a good user, they can be pretty good right off the bat because they have some really quality guys on both sides of the ball. Dalvin Cook's one of the best running backs, if not the best Madden running back. Maybe Chubb, in my opinion, but it can be argued. And Justin Jefferson got a big boost in 86 overall now, so you don't even have to develop him as high as you used to, and I think he becomes a superstar when he hits the downs played. So I really like the Vikings outside of the gigantic Kirk Cousins contract that, of course, weighs them down and makes you have to either write it out or bite the bullet and take a huge cap penalty. So welcome, by the way, to the league.
Yeah, welcome. I've been meaning to say that for all the new guys. We're happy to have all of you. Yeah, the Kirk Cousins contract's unfortunate. There's another situation of Madden kind of being stupid. I mean, he's only 32. He should theoretically hang around his 80 overall rating for a few years, but he won't.
Yeah.
And Harrison Smith is another, that's like the one X factor in Madden that just, after year one, is kind of questionable sometimes, just due to his speed tends to regress a lot. But there's a lot of pieces to work with in Minnesota. This is a really good roster in the mid-20s of a draft, and you can definitely win right away. And as Q said, Dalvin Cook's unreal. So if you're a good user, this is a good team to take, and I would expect you to compete.
No, I had them in a league. This Madden, Cook is, he's just one of those players that, can change a game and really fun to play with. Thielen, when it comes to Madden, can't be guarded. So we have the Minnesota Vikings at 28. 29, we have Smartwick. Welcome to the league, by the way. Pleasure having you. And he goes with the Jacksonville Jaguars at 29. I think it's a solid pick. This was one of the teams that I thought was underrated. When it came to the ratings, I saw the ratings and then, kind of scared me a little bit. Dom, what's your take on 29 Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah, it's a pretty solid pick. They have a pretty good offensive line, and they have Josh Allen up front on defense, which are nice pieces to have. I mean, you have Miles Jack. The corner situation is pretty good, and that's always nice to have in Madden. They need some safety help. They need some quarterback help, but outside of that, they're really pretty solid. I mean, they have a lot of young pieces and definitely a lot of flexibility moving forward. They don't really have any contracts holding them back or anything like that. So it's a fresh slate in Jacksonville, and yeah, I'm sure it's an exciting time. And welcome to the league.
Yeah, I like this pick as well, especially if he stays with us and rides it out, because this team really looks good. And I've been in a few leagues where I've seen how they look in year 3, even year 2, and they look really good, especially those young guys that already start out pretty solid on the defensive side especially. And then you get that boost with James Robinson. Now, I know he's not that fast, but I'm sure you could play some bowling ball football with him and just run some guys over. But I like the pick, and I hope that, I kind of want to look forward to seeing how he can develop them.
I think speed matters as much at running back this Madden as it has in the past. I've had a lot of success with slow running backs, and I've seen a lot of people have success with them. So I actually don't think that's as big of a factor as some might think it is if you haven't played with one. I know in years past it was pretty brutal, but I think the effect's minimal this year.
That'll be interesting to see how he does with that team. We had our battles before, so I'm sure he'll be competitive in that league, or in the division. I'm sorry. We move on to our final pick. Slick, he's a former member with us. It's been a couple Maddens, and he goes with the Miami Dolphins at 30. This was a shocker to me. I did mention I wanted the Dolphins at, in some league, or if, the restart was to happen, they were a team on my list. Obviously, you have Tua, you have the defense. I love the speed on defense. What's your take on that, Q?
One of those, same thing that you said, great value for this pick at 30. I've seen in a lot of leagues, they're a very desired team, especially with the updated rosters. I really like it. I think that it's going to be definitely interesting to see how he does in the AFC East. The AFC East has some tough guys in there, but they're a really fun team that I would be interested in being as well.
Yeah, I considered the Dolphins. The roster is actually a little worse than I thought it would be, but you're pretty set on defense. And offensively, you definitely have some pieces. I don't think there's any way they would have fallen this far if Tua was better in real life. I think that may have soured some people on taking them. But, I mean, he's still a 73 overall at 22 in Madden. And they have some draft capital coming up. I think that's the most attractive part of taking the Dolphins. So that's a great value pick. I honestly can't believe they fell to 30.
I was surprised that they went to 30 as well. When I was gathering these picks, I started to look to see who was available still, and the Dolphins were there, so it kind of shocked me. So that concludes our team draft for this restart. I'm sorry.
Who didn't get picked? Is it the 2 New York teams that aren't picked?
And the Lions.
So I think it's the Lions, Jets, and the Giants are the 3.
Wasn't that pick 30? I'm confused.
I'm sorry.
We skipped 27.
We skipped one. So we skipped one.
Okay.
So he still needs to make his pick, and then that would leave us 2. So so it's Giants, Lions, and the Jets are the remaining.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd take the Jets out of those 3. But.
Same.
I would go Giants, but hey, that's just me. So we conclude our team draft for this restart. Obviously, we had the surprise picks, and doing this is always fun. We're going to be able to provide more content for everyone and keep this thing going. I do have 2 more spots to fill. We will be revising the rules as far as, making some slight adjustments. And we should, what are we looking at? Saturday start date, maybe?
Yeah, ideally Saturday.
Yep, Saturday would be awesome. And then
Saturday, okay. So yeah, we're looking to start on Saturday, and let's ride this out. Let's see how this goes, and I'm sure it's going to be a great league. and we're going to be able to do more things like this for you. So good luck, everyone. And if you guys want to say a couple of things before we sign off here.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions on how they can create content or has any recommendations for content they would like to see, we definitely love to hear it. So reach out to one of us three or Zig, and we'll definitely get back to you. And we're looking forward to this restart and bringing some new life into 760.
Yeah, basically everything that he just said as well. Definitely be part of the chat. Be active with the content that you want to create or that you want to see. I definitely recommend stuff if you do want to see some stuff. We've been running league since Madden 15, and we have created and ran a successful league all the way till now. But we're trying to really start over and start a foundation here with this restart, where we kind of want, not to sound cheesy, but to kind of create a brotherhood with this startup and have a lot of guys moving forward for the next Maddens and the next gen when we all move forward to the PS5 and whatnot. So looking forward to this startup, and definitely glad to have all you guys here.
Oh, well said. And with that, your 760 admin team is signing off.
Degenerate into